allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome everybody here today.
I'll review them when they send. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion been made by Mel,
Second.
seconded by Steve. On, any more discussion? On favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 3-0. Claims? Thank you. Gibson General, $115,688.21. Court System, $2,684.25. Highway Department, $247,731.19. Sheriff's Department, $23,478.53. ACH, $21,180.33. CAW-1, $54,672.88. CAW-2, $14,049.06. Thank you. Innkeepers, $15,475.27. Ditch claims, $19,252.74. Payroll for July 31st, 2020, $335,115.01. Thank you. Claims docket, $151,447.51. Insurance claims, July 24th, $150. Insurance claims, July 24th, $317,927.20. Poplar claims, checks to be allowed on July 29th, $1,500 even. Poplar ACH claims on July 29th, $1,301 even. That's it.
We've got them online, and that, make motion to approve the claims.
Motion's been made by Mary, seconded by Steve. Any discussion on the claims? All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 3-0. Animal service. Veteran.
Good morning. I've given you a copy of my standard monthly report like I normally do. There's nothing really exceptionally noteworthy there. We only had one county veteran pass last month. That's a good thing. You asked me a couple months ago to keep you updated on the progress we're making in making up the vets funerals, that were missed during the COVID. And we're up to 3 of 14. Got one more scheduled on in the next couple of weeks. I suspect after that, probably not going to be too many more. I think a lot of families just have decided, you know what, we're not going to go back and do all that over again, and probably just going to call it good. So I would not suspect there would be a whole lot more, but I'll keep you up to date.
Okay.
And subject to your questions, that's really about all I have to say.
Thank you, George. Weights and measures. Highway.
Good morning, everybody. So we're still in the middle of chip season, chipping and sealing. We're probably 90% complete. We're over on the east side of the county in Columbia Township. And then we'll have Barton to do, and we'll be wrapping up. We're only gonna go 2 days this week because the next Wednesday and Thursday, we've got a bunch of little jobs that have been put off because of manpower issues. So we're gonna try and get caught up on a lot of those. We also had our quarterly meeting with Peabody Coal last week, discussed some repairs that we're still waiting on them to do, which they're supposed to be starting either this week or next. Other than that, I think that's about it.
If you would, Chuck, report on Road 350 South, since it's such a pretty big job. Or
I called
you or Mr. Holden.
Yeah, I called about that yesterday to find out what the schedule was, and haven't heard back from Mr. Aiken yet. This morning, I got to mail that and do all that.
That's how we work on the asphalt.
It's the one that's, we put down to 20 mile an hour. It's dangerous. So we've had some wrecks there. They're going to totally, in fact, it's close to Mr. Page's house there. Take all the asphalt off, regrade it, then put it back with the millings and chip and seal it, I assume,
Yes,
and see how that goes.
we'll prime oil it, chip seal it, and then monitor it, and see how it works. So, yes, I'm in contact with them. That's one of the reasons why I'm stopping chipping, is because we're right there in that area, so I want to do that before I move equipment and then have to backtrack and all that good stuff.
Pretty major job, really, but as you know, needs some.
Thank you, Chuck. Health Department.
Good morning.
Morning.
Here's a paper with our numbers. In July, we had 153 new COVID cases in Gibson County. So when you consider we're just a little over 200, July was very active for us. So we've been super busy following up with those. We've been working very closely with the schools. Each one of the schools has submitted plans on how they're going to reopen. And I've met with several of the school officials, and we went over different things to help provide safety for the school. With the governor's order that all events greater than 250 have to submit a plan to the health department for approval. And so per Mr. McDonald's recommendation, we probably need to get someone assigned of you all to be on that committee. Because as this moves forward, I don't know how long that's going to last. But then that way, because right now I'm just sending the information to all of you, but if you want to keep it that way, then you can all respond, or if one of you wants to be on the committee to vote, to give your opinion, however you want to handle that. We are getting, people are very opinionated when it comes to COVID. They have I want to say the haves and the have-nots when it comes to these masks. And so we get lots and lots of calls, either complaining that people aren't wearing their masks or complaining that they're not going to wear their masks and we're not going to make them. So that's made things a little bit difficult in the office because, there's not a lot of ordinances in place. So all we can do is educate them and on the safety of wearing the mask. So that's been real challenging these last months. Other than that, you can see our numbers there. We're getting ready for back to school, so we're geared up, doing lots of vaccines. The septic system, we did a lot of septic you know, had lots of people calling, wanting to fix things, go out and look at them. They're having issues with them, so Ben's been out a lot with that. Obviously, the food section has been down a little bit due to we've not had any of the fairs or events like that. So otherwise, just really, really busy with all this COVID stuff and probably gonna stay that way.
Question. This social distancing is adhered to our mask benefit.
They prefer that you do both. Yes, the order it says to do both. The governor.
The public for being, I mean, they've heard everything.
Yeah, the best,
You know, one time it's this, one time it's that. And so I don't blame the public for being frustrated.
the commissioners can write an ordinance specifying however you would like for that to be in your county. Because it could be more restrictive or less, well, actually, it could be more restrictive than the governor's order, but not less. The best thing to always do whenever you have any concerns about what is the correct way to do it is we go off cdc.gov. So if you go to cdc.gov, put in the information. If you know, if it's you've been contacted COVID, should I be wearing my mask? You know, all that information is on the Center of Disease Control.gov, so it's cdc.gov. And the ISDH has a website too with a lot of information. Other than those two sites, I wouldn't recommend using that information.
Thank you. EMA,
We're dispersing PPE that we received a month ago to fire, police, and EMS. 2 weeks ago, I put in for another mission request from Homeland Security for additional masks, gowns, goggles, anything that I could get, and I'm going to receive that tomorrow. So predominantly, that amount of PPE that I requested is going to go to EMS. It's all I can do to get what I can for fire and police, but EMS is using more than fire and police. The other thing is we're working with the different entities in the county, auditor's office, EMS, sheriff's department, under CARES money on procedures and protocols to submit that. And we'll just start from ahead. That's it.
thank you.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Are we okay, kind of, those both of you still have a person at the courthouse that is being taken care of by the funding, my understanding.
Through the CARES Act?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still good there?
Mm-hmm.
So I got somebody up there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
There are two devices. One of them's right here. That one's at the courthouse for entry. And that's part of the CARES protection here. It's for individuals to step into that for temperature, so it helps limit that virus spread.
Flood plain. EMS,
Morning.
morning,
Give you
Joe.
guys copies of our report. For July, we ended up with 324 runs. New accounts is at $243,568. The collections were at $99,756.41. The write-off amounts is $3,867.71. Our insurance adjustments were at $34,343.31. I did send you guys an email yesterday. It's a copy of a collections agreement with the collections company and out of Newburgh to take over where Lisa had left off. So if you guys could do that, maybe you get that.
Has Jim seen it?
He has it too, yes.
Did it have the stipulations that we requested?
I believe so. So Jim can review it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to accept the write-off amounts of $3,867.71.
Second.
Motion's been made by Steve, seconded by Barry. More discussion. All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, ayes have it, 3-0. Sheriff Department,
Good morning. I don't have any reports to give out at this point, but I do have our inmate population I can share with you in the jail. For July, we averaged 92 for the month. Our today population is 92 with a max of 108, so we're getting really close to that number. Work release, we have averaging 9 for the month of July, and we are down 6 jailers. We saw 6 corrections officers opening. We have a new officer starting today in corrections, 2 new dispatchers started this week, and we are still in an open hiring process for corrections
So
officers.
you're 6 down.
Yes, sir. We saw 6 open corrections officers positions. We're kind of in a revolving hiring process. We have one starting today who went through the process, and then we reopened the process again. So testing coming up here in another week or 2.
Okay, thank you. Extension. Park Board.
I know the mowing out there has been going well. I know, Brian, Blackwell did mow the trails. You can see that now. As far as the grant, we're about 90% complete on drawings. So I can get them finished up here soon, I hope. Submitted to DNR for their part of approval. I don't know, if there's been much events or anything out there really. That's it for part, I guess. Somebody got a question about it?
Thank you. SWCD.
Tabitha, back in the office again, and by appointment only. So if you need anything from SWCD, well, give her a shout.
Okay,
She's been working from home all that time, been back about 3 weeks or so.
thank you. County Engineer.
I know, there's been a lot of concern about 64 going back out. It's supposed to open the 28th. They were given a few days from NDOT, for change of scope on project, and they took some liquidated damage days to finish up. And there's a lot of concern because State Road 168 is supposed to close Monday, Monday the 10th for railroad repairs. But I did get confirmation yesterday and today that 64 will be open on Friday by the end of the day. They'll still have some guardrail work and some little things to do that they'll do while flagging, since the asphalt work will be done. And that's pretty big on flagging. When they're laying asphalt, they gotta be like 3/4 of a mile behind. It's a big section closed. So, the traffic should go much smoother than last time when they were doing the wheel pass and stuff like that. They are saying that yes, they're gonna open it Friday in the day. School starts North Gibson Friday. I've talked to Benny Hadley and NDOT and H.H. Rudolph, and they're aware of where the buses are gonna be going. They're gonna be allowed to go through, so there won't be any issue with buses. Even though the road's not open, the buses will be able to come through. So, 64 getting done to be a big one for everything right now.
When's the school start, South
Friday.
Gibson?
So we'll be closing the first day of school, but the buses are allowed to go through.
South Gibson.
South Gibson starts 13.
Starts 13.
Yeah, that's Thursday.
So 168 will be back open.
They're saying 12. We'll see. I mean, I know one year, St. James, up by St. James, it was closed for months.
It was CSX Railroads doing the crossing, so.
Hopefully it's quick work, and they're advertising it's a 3-day closure. So yeah, hopefully it does get done.
Have you notified the school?
I haven't talked to South Gibson about that closure. I found out about it yesterday morning when the sign was.
Okay, can you call?
Yes.
Notify them?
Yep. County paving 100% done, all invoice for it. Community crossings grant. The only left on it is striping, and they have went out and started setting up striping yesterday or Friday.
Yes.
So striping, I hopefully be done in the next week, and then community crossing will be complete. Bridge 4, that's the bridge that DK Parker was awarded back in the spring. It's open on gravel approaches. James Rudolph has the contract to pave it. So as soon as they get done with 64, they'll be out to pave the approaches on it, and I can close that project out.
Now that's one up ahead.
Uh, we own,
We are.
yeah. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Parrish? Good morning.
We've been working with a few departments on available grants from state funding and government funding for a few different projects. We are working on remote meeting capabilities for a few different departments, both the courts, the sheriff care program, and the commissioners in here for better options for remote viewing and using remote meetings for remote distance communication. We did have a major lightning strike here a few weeks ago. We have the major systems back operational. There's a few, couple of underlying things that we're still getting repaired. Should be done in the next week or so. We are working on ways to improve for a more robust system to protect against future events of this magnitude. And there is a county-wide security project. We've been working directly with the Secretary of State office to define the scope and details of that. It's kind of been taking a little longer than normal given recent events, but we're hoping to try to get that wrapped up here in the next month or so.
Okay, thank you. Old business, Gibson County Stormwater Ordinance. Scott?
Yes. I provided each of you with a current copy of proposed stormwater ordinance that we have. This is something, stormwater ordinance is something that has been on the Drainage Board agenda since I took office. We've been working on it really since then. And here a couple years ago, coordinated a group of people, worked with Soil and Water, Gary Seibert, before Gary, Megan Jackson. And we brought in Christopher Burke. They're a firm that specializes in stormwater. They actually wrote the stormwater management guide that's on Purdue's website for LTAP. We put that group together, and a member of the Drainage Board, Mary, and dove into it, and really, I think we've got something really good there. And so what this is state law. There's a state law that requires the county to have a stormwater ordinance. I believe it's IC 36928 5-3. And so what we're trying to do here is meet those requirements. Currently, the only requirements that the state has, that the county would have, would fall under the state. And that is the Rule 5 permit. That's sediment control during construction. So currently after construction, there's no regulations for stormwater drainage. So what this would do is it would put in place some requirements for post-construction. And I think we've got something really good there. What you have there, what we've done is we broke it up. There's actually 3 documents there. There's the ordinance, the technical standards, which is part of the ordinance. And we also, after much discussion, my office is, as you know, is a small office of 3 people. So what we did, and we looked at other counties, and this is how other counties in the state do it. We put together a fee ordinance. So the idea there would be that if you were a developer, and I'll back up a little bit, this ordinance only pertains to someone who is disturbing 1 acre of land or greater. So it wouldn't affect anyone that shouldn't have an engineer involved anyway. And that's kind of how the Rule 5 sediment control permits are. And that's a good judge as to what we would be seeing. I went out, met with Tabitha, and at the time she was working from home. We brought all this stuff out to my truck and looked through it. And I believe over the past year we've had 2 projects in the county that would have needed a review. And with our office being as the size it is, and looking at what other counties are doing, we added the addition of an ordinance that would require a developer to pay a fee that would really be a fee for an outside review. Our county, like I said, we would have had 2 over the last year that would have met the requirements of disturbing 1 acre or greater of land, which is pretty good size amount. Those had engineering firms involved already. I believe they have both contacted. That's a common call my office gets. Is engineering firm is designing something, whether it be an administration building or a parking lot. They call my office and want to know what the requirements are. They not necessarily for or against them. They just want to know what they are. And this would put in place some specifications for us to give them. And usually, you know, that's all it is. These specifications that we put in here, we tried to, we started off with something that was pretty thick, and we got it down to something that we feel, that I feel is pretty manageable for the county. And so the idea with that, with the pay fee schedule ordinance would be that the developer would end up reimbursing the county for the outside engineering review. So that's something that most other counties do. And I think it'd be a good, I think that's,
On your pay fees, you'll have to set that up with council. How you set up
well, I talked to Mary a little bit about that, and I believe if we set up a fund, we could possibly, you want to talk about that a little bit, Mary?
Oh, we need to let them know.
Yeah.
But it's an account,
Okay.
just like the sheriff's department has some and others. Yes, departments have one of the fees that come in that are used for specific.
That way it would be used specifically for, and it would also, if we set up a fund like that, it's my understanding, it would also, if there was something that was happening at the end of the year and we collected on it, it would stay in that fund. Is that right, Mary? Instead of going back to the general fund. So it's something that's specific, but yes, I can do that. Like I said, this is something required by law. It also is going to be something, but there's another rule, what we call the Rule 5 or Notice of Intent, the sediment control. IDM laws are in the process of being changed. So they're in the process of requiring this as well. So there's going to be kind of 2 portions of Indiana law that is going to require post-construction calculations, I guess you'd say, on that. So this would allow us to meet those. I know before Megan left and took another job, Megan had mentioned that a lot of times, you know, grants become available from time to time. I think there is a case where you put in for a grant. If the state looks at it and sees that you're not meeting state requirements, she had stated that a lot of times the state will come back and say, well, you don't have a stormwater management ordinance in place. So this would allow us to meet state law, basically. And it's something we have really dug into, and I think we've got something good there. I would encourage anybody that wants to contact me. I would ask your permission to also work with Kay and John and maybe get it on our website as well. And does anyone have any questions for me? I know this is something that.
So I've been involved in all the meetings as well, and I know they went line by line on this ordinance. And the fee schedule, where did you get the fee schedule? How did you come up with the fee schedule?
The fee schedule was based on another county here in Indiana. And after talking to several people, including the engineering firm that put this together, many counties, our ordinance will only address quantity. We will not, we're not required to address quality in Indiana. So that's a good thing. So what we did is we just took some examples from across the state, and then cut those down by about a third. Because if we sent it for an outside review, they would not have to, the engineering firm would not have to look at quality. They're only looking at quality. So we were able to reduce those costs by 1/3. And that was pretty consistent with the industry, with the different fee schedules that we saw across the board.
And it's my understanding that soil and water are behind, we're recommending.
I think Soil and Water are supportive of it. I believe Gary from Soil and Water, we've been working with Soil and Water on this. They've been part of the meetings as well. And,
This is 19 years into the making.
yeah, it really is. I think my predecessor even was working on
So
it.
both of you gentlemen endorse it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, at this point, we need to, since there's fees involved, Mr. President, we need to advertise our authorities for fee schedule. So, I would recommend that you take it under advisement and review it and have Scott and Gary come to the next meeting, and if you want to pass it at the next meeting. But this would give anybody in the public an opportunity to come forward at the next meeting concerning the ordinance. Plus, I have to advertise for the fee schedule anyway. They're two separate, one's the fee schedule ordinance and one's the ordinance for the stormwater. They're separate, but they're together, so however you want to handle it.
Does anyone have any questions? Any other
We need a
questions?
motion to table this until.
Well, I would have a motion that the first reading, waiver of first reading for the stormwater ordinance.
Okay.
Motion to waive the first reading. If anybody wants to review it, we have copies up here. Signatures.
And I do have copies at my office as well. I have them in PDF format. If anyone would want a copy, I'd be willing to get a copy of it to them. And we'll work with getting it available through the Gibson County website as well. I think that's pretty handy for people. And please, if anyone has any concerns, please contact my office or Gary. We'll try to answer any concerns or take a look at any concerns that anyone might have.
Yeah, it's not super thick. It, you know. And when
If you've seen the one we
and when you
started
get
with,
into- yeah, the one we started with was like that. When you get into some of the technical stuff, it might be a little harder to understand. But I think the ordinance itself is pretty clear and fairly simple to understand.
And also Matt was involved in the efforts
Yeah.
as well, so the commissioners know the county engineer has laid his eyes on it and made his
Even
recommendation.
with the amount of information that's in there, it's because you have to cover so many different circumstances,
Yeah.
so many different types of developments. It's, this whole binder, this whole ordinance and technical specs, it doesn't apply to every project.
Yeah.
There's only parts and pieces, you have to cover every part and piece of different projects.
there are some things in the technical standards that just puts policies in place that likely Gibson County would never see. It makes it look a little thicker, but it does put a policy for us in place.
Okay.
So up to this point, any new development, we've not had a stormwater ordinance, therefore we have no stormwater retention standards for the county, is that correct?
Not post-construction, no. And anything an acre or greater, which this is consistent with Indiana codes and consistent with the Rule 5, they would still have to, that previously they would still have to get sediment control permits, but once the construction's done, they have no requirements at all post-construction. This puts in those post-construction requirements.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to.
Now the next motion. Second by Steve. Any more discussion?
To waive the first reading.
Yes, sorry.
All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, 3-0.
Now I need a motion to advertise the fee schedule.
Also moved.
Melanie made the motion, Steve seconded. All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, 3-0. Okay, new business, oh, I'm sorry, treasurer's report, is everybody seen it?
Yes, I said it.
Okay. Tanya Thompson,
Hello, I'm here trying to get you guys approval on a bulk form copy ordinance, which is set up for people to buy copies in our office in bulk form. With this, it protects our county records by doing this and also the citizens from their information being sold. Also, along with that is the watermark ordinance, which is actually stamped on there, so they cannot resell it and sell the information that's on there. By doing this, this is all set up, by the Indiana code. If I do not do this, then I would have to let the copies go for a lot less money. For one, I have to hire a vendor to have the copies made. And then secondly, I want them watermarked, so they cannot resell the copies. This apparently is ongoing with some other surrounding counties around us, and they did not have ordinances set in place, so they had to let the copies go for a lot less. This is not something really that I particularly want to do, but this will protect our county records and the citizens by doing that.
Jim, have you seen
Yeah, I worked with a reporter on this, and one of the questions I have for, the statute requires you to do some type of study to come up with the amount.
Yes,
The
and
maximum
I
amount.
did
You
do that
conducted that
with
study.
cost study analysis, and the cost study was done in the last 5 years, and we were well over charging.
20 cents. The maximum under statute is 20 cents per page. She's asking for 20 cents because she is well over that as far as the cost per page, according to her study. So I just want the commissioners to know by statute, she's required to do a study. It's in that ordinance. She's completed that, and her recommendation is 20 cents a page, which is the max allowable under the statute. You can't go over 20 cents.
And if you need to see that, I've got copies of that too, if you don't have them.
So is this, is there more than one ordinance involved here?
There's 2 different ordinances. The bulk form ordinance, which is where the user has to agree to a contract with the recorder's office if they're not going to resell the property records. So the other is the watermark, where they're actually marked on the document itself to protect our records.
I reviewed everything that you had sent to us in that, and I will make a motion to approve both.
Melanie made the motion,
Second, Mr. Chairman.
seconded by Steve.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the Owensville Library, somebody resigned off of the board, and they are asking to appoint Robin Engelmeyer. This is in the Owensville Library, and I'll make a recommendation.
I'll move to accept that recommendation.
Okay, motion made by myself and Steve seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 3-0. Economic Development Income Tax Plan, that is the edit plan for 2021.
2020 and 2021, you made some changes as far as in the ag plan.
Okay, so it's for 2020,
And 2021.
21, yes,
It's
okay.
hard to get out.
Having reviewed this, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we adopt the
amended economic development income tax plan for 2021.
Okay, Steve made a motion,
I'll second that.
seconded by Mary. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, 3-0.
I have.
Go ahead.
When you're ready.
Yeah.
As you know, we've been involved in a federal lawsuit concerning the jail overcrowding. I'm asking the commissioners to approve the stipulation of the private settlement agreement with the plaintiff's counsel, that is the ACLU, concerning the renovation or building of a new jail. So I'm asking the commissioners to ratify, give me approval to sign off on the stipulation of the private settlement. I've worked with the county council as well. I believe we worked out something that we can live with as far as the county's concerned, as far as the timelines. And as you know, we have an architect involved. And if next Tuesday, if the council approves the allocation of those fees out of the jail tax, then he'll be starting looking at the Greenfield site or renovating the old jail site. So, and we have till October 13th to make that decision. And then after that, you have 9 months for design. And then after that, you have 18 months for construction. As you know, this ACLU and federal attorney fees can get quite steep. The settlement agreement stops some of that and limits our Gibson County's exposure. If we do not reach some type of agreement, then the federal judge will be in charge of building your jail, and the fees will go up, and you will have no control on what happens. So this is why it's important that we reach this agreement with the ACLU. They had conference call with the federal judge on Friday. This is something that's not going to go away. You can't write a letter to the judge and tell him to leave us alone. It's not going to happen, okay? So I'm making a recommendation and with our insurance counsel's recommendation to ratify this settlement agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the recommendation of the county attorney and our attorney, Karen Pollock, and to accept this revised agreement. As you know, it's much different than what was there. It gives us much more time. It lessens the attorney fees. So I make a motion to approve.
Motion has been made by Steve.
I'll second that. We do not want to get into it. It's happened in other counties that the federal judge has gotten involved in. Not free.
Seconded by Mary. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it,
Now,
3-0.
you motion to allow the president to sign off on that. To get that
Motion
county draft.
to allow the president to sign off on the agreement that we just proposed.
Motion been made by Steve,
Second.
seconded by Mary. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, 3-0.
Thank you.
What we will have a public drainage board meeting here in about, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Did anybody come to the meeting to address the commission? Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, we usually have a forum in March for political things and just an update from the city and the state, or the county and the states and stuff. So that got canceled due to COVID, and Heritage Days got canceled due to COVID. And so we're trying to figure out the best possible format and platform to allow our candidates to get together and address the public. And I just wanted to, give that out to you guys and everybody here in the public. If you have any ideas of how we can do that, a place, it has been brought to my attention that maybe virtual is not the best way. So anything that you guys can think of, I'm open to ideas, I'm open to suggestions, and I really just want to make sure our candidates have a platform to speak. So just contact the Chamber of Commerce, or we're on 202 Broadway, and thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I want to say, Mr. Chairman, we're pleased to have the former county official and Mars here today. Pleased to have you here today. Thank you.
Just observing.
Yes, sir.
I'll pay a motion.
Move to, adjourn.
Motion's made by Steve, seconded by Mary. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.